Part 11. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 101. He didn't care about anything, he just said to you, please. But with just these words, you can feel the weight of a mountain. In the study, you solemnly agreed to the other party. At the same time, the wedding you arranged was finally held as scheduled. There are not many people at the wedding banquet. You only invited a few people with good connections, your own family, and a few members of Rico Rico. At the wedding banquet, wearing white wedding dresses, they had two completely different beauties. Nishikikichien is still lively and active even if she is wearing a wedding dress that is not suitable for activities. She can still greet the guests cheerfully. She has an eccentric nature. She holds your hand and seems to have thousands of thoughts. Tell it to you alone. Takina Inu speaks very few words wearing a white wedding dress. She holds your arm quietly. Her purple wister-like eyes look at you from time to time, and her fair face will show an intoxicating blush, like a blooming quiet flower water lily. Happiness ripples in the intertwining of your eyes. Just a small smile is enough to convey everything between you. You married them. Their relationship with you is one step closer. Is this really the way for two people to get married? Feeling the flashback of simulated memories in his head, Nangxiang rubbed his temples, feeling a little surprised. From this point of view, he should have made the right choice among his previous choices. This is a far-reaching option. If you choose the first option at that time, make future plans for both of you at the same time. It is estimated that it will be a regrettable ending that both of them love. And if you choose the second option, it is estimated that only one person will be happy, and the other person will have a normal ending of a lifetime. The third option is hidden between the two and has the most far-reaching impact. And judging from the current development route, it seems that happy endings are no longer a big problem. But Nangxiang, she had a strange expression on his face. Is marrying two people at the same time considered a happy ending? He thought for a moment and came up with an explanation that was barely plausible. For the simulator, happiness probably depends on whether his married life with Nishiki Kishu is happy. And abandoning Inu Takina and choosing Nishiki Kishu will most likely lead to regrets in Nishiki Kishu's married life. For this girl who has a lively nature but is very gentle to everyone, Inu Takina's misfortune may itself be equated with her misfortune. Nangxiang, she probably figured it out. At the same time continue to look down. The night after the wedding banquet ended, they took the initiative to come to your room. That night, you felt the passion jumping happily like a flame and the gentle tranquility like an orchid. That night, they took the initiative to cooperate with you, and they and you both experienced the beauty of the 36 postures. You linger and forget to leave. Your happiness level has increased. Nishiki Kishu's happiness level has increased. Takina Inu's happiness level has increased. Nangxiang opened the simulation list in silence. Seeing that there were only 510 heartbeat points left, Nangxiang, she could only regretfully give up the option of personal simulation. It's not that he's interested in things between men and women. Nangxiang, she actually wanted the subsequent ending to be more perfect. There is a simulated in-person option. This time he will definitely be able to get a perfect simulated ending of 100 points. Everything is just preparation for the perfect ending. That's all. Let me emphasize again, he was never interested in men and women when he was in Nangxiang. Time continues to flow backwards. After you decline the position of Professor of Literature at Tokyo University, you have been working as a freelance literary worker. The huge savings lying quietly in your bank, as well as the royalties that are still being paid from the publishing house to this day, are enough to allow you to live a luxurious life without doing anything. You continue to write, while Nango Kishu and Nango Takina continue to do what they want to do. In this time, the days pass day by day. Finally one day, a piece of news that is of great significance to you has arrived. Nangxiang Qianshu is pregnant. After getting the news, all the members of Like gathered together to celebrate her. And you also suspended your writing career and quietly stayed with your wife. Nang Xiangqianchu's originally lively and active personality became much calmer after becoming pregnant. In front of you, she is still the same Nishiki Kishu who always smiles and hugs your face and kisses you for a long time. In the eyes of others, she has long since lost her previous immaturity, and her delicate and pretty face is filled with the happiness of living with you and expectations for the future. Compared to his best friend Nang Xiangqianshu, he developed smoothly. Nango Takina, who has not had any movement in her stomach until now, looks more anxious. Although she still looks quiet and gentle, on many nights, she is more proactive than before. As for her concern, you see it in your eyes and remember it in your heart. At the same time, you have not forgotten that in the previous regretful dream, Nango Takina had a very strong pregnancy reaction, which might take her life. You will never make the mistake you have made twice. You begin to carefully prepare a diet for her to prevent miscarriage and improve her physical condition. The days continue to move backward day by day. Finally one day, Nango Takina got the result she wanted. That day, Nishiki Kishu was happy for her for a long time and made a good decision to name the child in her belly. And from this moment on, you pay special attention to Nango Takina's physical condition. Another month has passed. Compared to Nango Takina, who has just improved, Nango Kishu has already given birth to a girl. You and Nang Xiangqianshu named her newborn Nang Xiang Nagzun. The lovely Nagzun soon gained the overwhelming love from all the members of Like and your family. Mizuki Nakahara, the older leftover girl, bought a lot of children's clothes for her. Hudao, who often takes a break at work, also carefully purchased milk powder for her on the internet. The store manager Mika especially loves this girl who looks like his granddaughter. He often carries Nango Nangsun everywhere, even if he is peed all over sometimes, he just laughs and doesn't care. Every time you see these, you, Nango Kishu, and Nango Takina will show happy expressions. The river of happiness flows between you. Similarly, during this period, you did not forget to pay attention to Nango Takina. At night, when she tells you about her uneasiness, you will always use your humorous words to resolve all her nervousness. Just relying on you and Nang Xiangqiansu, her originally tense mental state relaxed a lot. Similarly, you are still cooking safe childbirth type meals for her to condition her body, and strive not to let the things in the regretful dream happen again. You and Nang Xiangqianshu will massage her when she is tired. When she has nightmares, you and Nango Takina will be by her side, comforting her when she is upset. Under the gaze of the two of you, time passes quietly. Finally, Nango Takina's childbirth has begun. In response, you regroup. This time, no more regrets. Chapter 104. Qianshu and Takina. This time, no more regrets. When he saw this line of words, Nang Xiangxi was actually a little worried in reality. After all, the regrettable ending of last week with no survivors ended with Inu Takina having too strong a reaction to pregnancy. Although I have made a lot of preparations in advance for this week. But in terms of human physique, even doctors probably can't tell for sure. He tensed his nerves and continued to look down. Nango Takina's pregnancy reaction came as you expected. The strong stimulation made her miserable, and it also made you break into a cold sweat. But the result this time is completely different from the regretful dream. With your careful care of her in advance and Nang Xiangqianshu's constant company by her side, she was able to go through this very difficult time in a very stable physical and mental state. That's it? In reality, Nan Xiangxi let out a heavy breath. It's just a simulation though. But this is enough to show that Inu Takina's pregnancy reaction can be overcome. But if you just look at the simulator's description, whether it's my care or Nishiki Kishu staying with her, both of them are very important. Nang Xiangxi finally understood. Last week, Chisu Nishiki died of congenital heart disease in the simulation. Although he took good care of Takina Inu, in the end it was still difficult to save her lost life. Think about it this way. No wonder Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina need to get married together. If he chooses to abandon his beloved sister Inu Takina, Nishikiki Chisuk will definitely feel guilty and depressed in the end. And without the company of Nishiki Kishu, Inu Takina would inevitably die of pregnancy reactions. It's like a symbiotic relationship. If you want to eventually lead to happiness, Nishiki Chisuk and Inu Takina are indispensable. The simulation continues. After several days of continuous hard work and persistence, Nango Takina also gave birth to a girl. You and Nango Takina named her Nango Spring Toki. Your life is no longer as monotonous as before. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 102. Sitting in the courtyard purchased with your royalties, watching the flowers bloom and fall in front of the courtyard. Watching Nangxiang Nagzun and Nangxiang Haranchi grow up day by day, you will feel indescribably moved. It's like my life continues in another form. Every time at this time, Nango Kishu and Nango Takina will always sit next to you, whispering about how they met you a long, long time ago, and whispering love words that only you two can understand. In the simulation, memories are floating around. Flowers bloom and fall in front of the garden. He and they sat on the bench, and just by looking at each other, they could see the satisfaction in each other's eyes. I used to like Shijan, she said suddenly while looking at her two daughters who were already playing in the courtyard. What about now? Right now? She fell into silence, then laughed out loud. Now, I probably like it more. The calm and playful voice spread far in the courtyard. This sound made the black-haired girl on the other side chuckle. He turned his head to look at her with black hair. The black-haired woman was still as taciturn as before, she just stretched out her hand and quietly rapped his palm. In response, he just smiled, stretched out his hand, and gently touched her delicate orchid-like face. Probably Yunduo secretly drank the wine he put on the roof. Her blush turned into sunset. You look at each other, time seems to have lost its meaning at this moment. You sit together quietly, and memories of the past come to mind. What exactly is happiness? Perhaps, a simple eye contact between you is enough, that is happiness. Time continues to pass later. You are getting older, and your daughters are getting older. Although Nango Harutoki looks the same as Nango Takina, in terms of personality, he does not inherit his wife's quiet and stable character at all. The lively and cheerful appearance is more like Nango Kishu, who usually likes to laugh, which gives Nango Takina a headache. But regarding Nango Takina's preaching, Nango Harutoki always actively admits his mistakes, but does not hesitate to make them again next time. Similarly, Nangxiang Chunchi is the same as Nangxiang Kinchu, possessing motor nerves that ordinary people cannot reach. In school, she is very popular due to her cheerful and lively personality, extraordinary motor skills, and beauty compared to Nango Takina when she was young. It wasn't just boys who sent her love letters, there were even a lot of girls. It's just that compared to her terrifying motor skills, her academic performance is mediocre, and she has not inherited any of your learning genes. You don't pay much attention to this. Studying is just a stepping stone to a better stage. If learning is not possible, Nangxiang Chunchi can also spend his time on sports. On the contrary, Nango Kishu's daughter Nango Nahiro is completely different from Nango Kishu, who is always laughing and joking, lively and cute. Nangxiang Nagzun has a quiet and calm personality. He likes to hold books and read. Although he has no motor skills, he is an out-and-out genius when it comes to learning. Similarly, the blonde girl is very indifferent to others, even when facing her mother, who is always laughing and joking and has not had plastic surgery. Only when she is dealing with you as your father, will she take off her cold disguise and act coquettishly with you secretly, as if she is having trouble with you. Every time this happens, Nangxiang Kinshu will always call you away with a smile, and at the same time throw a provocative look at Nangxiang Naixun. This makes Nangxiang Naixun very worried about this. The two daughters had completely opposite growth processes, which once made Nango Kishu and Nango Takina wonder whether they had given birth to the wrong child. What is even more difficult for them to accept is this. The two children who are somewhat difficult to discipline in their hands are always obedient when facing you as their father. Basically, whatever you ask your two daughters to do, they will do it willingly. In response to this, Nango Kishu and Nango Takina sighed softly. It seems that your charm towards girls has no intention of fading away even in middle age. Nango Kishu and Nango Takina look at you even more closely. You are not aware of the thoughts of the two wives. In addition to teasing the two daughters and the two wives, they usually stay in the study and create literature. A person's mental state cannot remain where he was when he was young in the past. As you turn 34, your writing skills are even better than before. As for life, you have a new understanding of life after living with Nango Kishu and Nango Takina for a long time. Your literary literacy is even better than before. In these years, he has written many novels that have amazed the literary world. If the former Sencho Takina can be called a literary giant of the younger generation, then the current Sencho Takina can be called a master who occupies a corner of the literary world. As for the turmoil more than 10 years ago, it has long been completely forgotten. Although there have been revelations so far, it is no longer harmful. A well-known literary newspaper commented on you, Master Nangxiang's pure and simple words can bring pure touching to people's hearts and make people linger. The following year, your essay My New Life was included in the textbook and became one of the must-read essays for junior high school students. The continuous expansion of personal assets does not expand you as a person. You will still choose a good time to invite your friends from the past like to the cocktail party. Nowadays, Nakahara Mizuki has given up her alcohol addiction long ago. According to her, drinking all the time is really bad for your health. Hu Tao, who was short in stature, has now grown into a graceful girl and is old enough to drink. Although the store manager Mika is in his 60s, his body is still strong. At the cocktail party, you had a great time chatting with each other, and everyone enjoyed the warm atmosphere. Time continues to move backwards. You are still engaged in literary creation, and Nango Takina and Nango Kishu are still so unrestrained, accompanying you. As you watch, Nango Harutoki, who is in high school, is poached by Japan's famous sports university to become a professional sports player. As for your daughter Nango Nahiro, who is known as a great literary figure, she was admitted to the literature department of the University of Tokyo where you previously studied with excellent results. She seems to want to follow the same path you have taken before. Neither you nor Nango Takina nor Nango Kishu interfered with their choices. Just like you did to the two of them. The future of their children should also be chosen by them. I have to say that Nangxiang Chunchi and Nangxiang Naixun are indeed worthy of being your daughters. In just 1 year of enrollment, the two have achieved achievements that are the envy of all their peers in their respective fields. Nangxiang Chunchi broke the sports record with an absolute advantage. Nangxiang Naixun is only a freshman and has already started serializing novels. They began to enjoy the title of genius. Time, continue to move backwards like this. You no longer need to worry about your daughters. They have grown up. The two wives are happy for their achievements. You continue to accompany your wife, and the river of happiness continues between you and them. After graduation, Nango Nahiro continued to explore the path of literature. She wanted to get rid of the influence you left on her. After all, she has a father who is a literary figure. You can imagine the pressure she is under. As for Nango Naixun's pressure, Nango Harutoki had a lot of different ideas after graduating from college. She did not start her sports journey as everyone imagined. On the contrary, she became obsessed with FPS, shooting, games. With her superhuman reflexes and keen perception gained from years of accumulated training, she quickly became a national-level game anchor in Japan, with hundreds of followers on famous YouTube channels, thousands of fans. You see everything in your eyes and feel happy for them. Gradually, they turn to the front of the curtain, and you turn to the backstage. Time is equal and will not change because of anyone. As time goes by, you become older. But even so, you will still stay in your own small courtyard, watching the flowers blooming and falling in front of the court, and saying love words that only you can understand. The erosion of time has not made you feel regretful, on the contrary, it has made you cherish the little happiness you have with each other. During these days, you will still write works. But compared to your younger self, you no longer have any requirements for fame and fortune. The excellent manuscripts you have created are piled up like a mountain, and any one of them would be a sensation in today's Japanese literary world, but you have not submitted any of them to the publishing house. Because these things are just created casually as reading material to relieve boredom between you and them. You are still so humorous and can often make two people smile. However, no one can escape the changes of time. Nangxianqinshu is getting older, and her original healthy body is gradually losing with the passage of time. When she passed away, it was you, Nango Takina, and your two daughters who were by her side. When she passed away, she still had a smile on her face, just like the lively and active person she was before. You and Takina have no regrets after all. Life and death cannot be changed by human beings. At the end of life, it is enough to make Nangxianqinshu feel happy. The days continue to move forward. About 2 years later, the originally healthy Nango Takina gradually became weak due to the erosion of time. You hold her hand tightly and look at her with a smile. The warmth in your chest makes you fearless of death, just like Nangxianqinshu did back then. After Nango Takina passed away, you buried her and Nango Kishu together, while silently waiting for your last day to arrive. You don't feel sad, let alone depressed. The warm moments of meeting them are still encouraging you to move forward. You continue your creation. In the realization of life and death, you realize the meaning of literature. You begin to concentrate on your creation. The remaining life was gradually consumed during the creation of this work. But you don't care. Every time you write a new novel chapter, you can clearly feel the pulse of the words in your hands. You want to leave traces of you and them in this world. You continue to create until the day your life force is exhausted, and you will also complete this work. This time, facing death, you are particularly calm. Lie down on the bed, your two daughters holding your hands tightly. Vaguely, you seem to see Takina and Sensu when they were young. The lives and happiness of you and them seem to continue here. Feeling the emotion in your heart, you close your eyes with contentment and quietly feel the passage of life. In a trance, you seem to see in a flash of white light, your two wives staying in the Lico Rico Cafe. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 104. You are officially living together with Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina. In the process of living with Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina, there are both happy things and unspeakable things. For example, when you are about to go to the toilet, you find Inu Takina already sitting there, blushing and looking at you in surprise. When I get up early, I always have Nishiki Kishu lying on my body, and occasionally Inu Takina is there. When I was about to use the washing machine, I found a lot of women's underwear inside. When I yawn and get up early to go out, I bump into Chisuke Nishiki, who is wearing two cool clothes. At this time, you usually think that Nishiki Kishu did it on purpose, but facing her with LV5 reflexes and preparedness, you really can't find any evidence, so you have to give up temporarily. At the same time, Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina also noticed. You seem to be more serious about your studies than before the college entrance examination. When you are walking on the road to purchase goods for Lico Rico, they can hear you mumbling about the structure of the novel. While preparing the ingredients, I will also see you reading some difficult foreign novels. The light in your room sometimes stays on until very late and then goes out. Your sudden change makes them confused. Because your grades are already among the best among your peers. Now that you have reached the pinnacle of your peers, why can't you stop and take a break? But they still didn't ask these questions, but silently chose to support you behind your back. They often spend a lot of effort to move you to the bed after staying up late and sleeping at the table. Then they take off your coat and clothes and cover you with a quilt. When this step is completed, both of them will be sweating profusely. I will also endure the sleepiness and carefully prepare nourishing soup for you to nourish your body at night. No matter what time you stay up late, you seem to be able to see their shadows whenever you walk out of the room. In the long dark night, there is no moon and no stars. Only they are with you. You see everything. You keep everything in mind. Efforts will eventually be rewarded. This is true for ordinary people, and even more so for geniuses. Your extraordinary learning talent has been fully utilized through hard work. But you know, since you have to walk with them on a path that is unacceptable in this world, the effort involved must be unbearable by ordinary people. Your academic ability value has been greatly improved, and the current academic ability value is 9. Whether it's a problem with your coursework or a literature professor who sometimes has trouble asking questions, these things won't trouble you. The following year, the short detective story Doll you wrote under the pseudonym Senbo Takina was published in a famous popular fiction magazine in Tokyo. Your short detective novel Doll has achieved very good results under the operation of the publisher. In June of the same year, you wrote a tragic literary work called Café No. 3 in the famous novel magazine New Wave. You have described with extremely delicate and touching words a country youth who came to Tokyo and was dazzled by the flowers. During this period, he unexpectedly met two girls, Chiko and Takiko, and fell in love with them. Story. This year, the sales of the novel titled Senshu Takina have been rising steadily. In your third year, you became the first person to skip a grade at the University of Tokyo and obtain a Master of Arts degree. During this period, you still published works on the Tokyo Literary Forum using the pseudonym Sensu Takina. Every time you come up with works of different styles, you surprise countless people. Countless people have approached you, wanting to make friends with you who has achieved such literary achievements at such a young age. Because you are young and have achieved such achievements, and because your appearance is the best among boys of your age, many famous families in Tokyo have offered you marriage opportunities. You just politely declined their invitation. Your heart has long been equally divided between two people, and your eyes will naturally not be attracted by any other women. Your pace cannot stop here yet. You still need to achieve higher achievements, and you need to continue to work hard for this. Only in that way can you be worthy of the silent watch of the two of them. Chapter 105. Romantic Writing Skills in Nangxiang, 4,000 words. Simulation ends. When he saw this line of text, Nan Xiangxi, who had been keeping his face straight, couldn't help but glance sideways at the light blue simulator screen. He originally thought that his love simulator could be said to be very evil. But now he can see it. Not only are you evil, you are also a simulator who lacks common sense. Looking at the content in the simulation, Nan Xiangxi couldn't help but look at the light blue simulation page and said, "Don't you know that Nobel Prizes are generally not awarded to dead people?" Seeing that the simulator page remained unchanged, Nan Xiangxi couldn't help but touch his chin. It is true that the Nobel Prize is generally not awarded to dead people, but in fact, there are indeed exceptions, that is, deceased people have won the Nobel Prize. Judging from the memory in the simulation, I was actually nominated for the Nobel Prize several times, but I rejected it because of various things. Even in the year of his death, some works had been finalized and won the Nobel Prize. However, in order to create the work Kishu and Takina, he still did not wait for the day to officially receive the award. Nan Xiangxi estimated that the candidate who had already been selected died early, but it was difficult to select a second winner in the same year, so the Nobel Prize Selection Committee maintained this decision. But it has nothing to do with me anyway. Nangxiang shrank back into bed again and continued to look down. You must know that he has not seen the simulator settlement this time. At the same time, he was also curious about what kind of ending this ending looked like to the system. Simulation ends. System score, 93 points. You have achieved a happy ending. System evaluation, the three of you died happily, the river of happiness flows in your hearts, and you never feel regret. They break into your world like a storm. Her enthusiasm and cheerfulness capture your heart, while her coldness and seriousness make it impossible for you to look away. For them, you are willing to devote your life, and for you, they are also willing to bear the incomprehensible eyes of the world. The love between you has no twists and turns, everything happens naturally and naturally. In your youth, in order to improve their living conditions, you worked hard to teach them skills and overcome difficulties with them, and your love affair began. For them, you never relax with your perseverance. For them, you are willing to climb the peak of literature and overcome all obstacles. For this, you have been criticized by countless people, but your true heart has never changed. After time, you have children, and their lives and happiness will be continued under your children. The happiness between you is as plain as the cherry blossoms in front of the garden, and like a river, turbulent and unpredictable. Love is like a flower, like mountains and rivers. When you reach middle age, you have long looked down on everything and just stared at each other. Even the cold winter is so cute in your eyes. In your later years, you embrace and support each other, but no one can change the laws of time and nature. Under your gaze, they passed away one after another, leaving you alone, but you think this is actually pretty good. How sad would it make them if you took the first step? After they passed away, you devoted yourself to creating the work. Kishu and Takina, the happiness between you and them made you miss them so much in your later years, and this happiness also burned your last vitality. You have never regretted falling in love with them when you were on the verge of death. They were still as beautiful as flowers in your memory. A happy ending with a score of 93. Looking at the system prompts, Nangxiang felt a little surprised. He thought that the happy ending this time would be a little lower than Goto Kazuri's score. Unexpectedly, the ending this time reached 93 points, which was 1 point higher than Goto Kazuri's time. Surprising but not surprising. Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina are characters who are willing to do anything for the people they love. Whether it was before or after marriage, the two of them never had any regrets, and their relationship did not have any twists and turns. It was a matter of course. The judging criteria for love simulators are only based on the degree of happiness between the person and the person being simulated. Thinking of this, it can be said that Nangxiang Shi can completely understand. He didn't think too much and turned his attention to the rewards calculated by the system. System settlement. You have obtained the pure and simple romantic writing skills in Nangxiang in his later years, and you have obtained the one-time character card Unparalleled Tracking Nishikiki Kishu. You have obtained the writing, romantic, specialty LV4. Romantic writing technique. Nishiki Kishu Tiangxia Wushuan tracking method. WTF. Nangxiang Shi now found that the skill rewards the system gave him were becoming more and more abstract. It was so abstract that he couldn't even understand it. He could understand the meaning of romantic writing techniques. It is nothing more than a simulation. In his later years, his romantic writing has reached its peak. But what does the character card Unparalleled Tracking Thousands of Kinkaki mean? He couldn't quite understand it, so he simply opened the comment about this prop. The unparalleled tracking of the world, thousands of brocades character card. Love is war, being soft to others is being cruel to yourself. With super strong execution ability and action ability, she has never felt that cowardice and submissiveness can wait for love for her. Only by taking the initiative can she be the ultimate winner. I don't seem like a woman who can do tracking, but in order to get you, I specially formulated a tracking method that is unparalleled in the world. Nishiki Kishu. Disposable character card prop. After using it, you can hide your aura perfectly, and no human intuition or surveillance equipment can detect you using this prop. You can perfectly track your favorite target. Nangxiangshi. Good guy. It can be said that when I saw Nangxiang here, I completely understood. If you look closely, does this look like a tool for stalking others? And MS Nishiki, are you serious? Why do your basic derivative props look like this? Did you know that stalking is illegal? At this moment, Nangxiangshi really felt that Jin Muqinshu's thoughts were indeed very dangerous sometimes. This is probably because the other party comes from the spy war and terrorism gun battle world of Likuris. And this prop seems very nonsensical, but if you really want to figure out something about the simulated object, this prop should be quite useful. However, Nan Xiang felt that how could an upright, friendly, and pure young man like him use this prop? Anyway, let's put it away first. After placing Miss Nishiki Kishu's character card solemnly, Nangxiang looked at the remaining rewards and clicked them. Pure and simple romantic writing skills in Nangxiang in his later years. Through countless days and nights of study, and the accumulated experience of countless works and manuscripts, you have made unremitting efforts on the road of literature, and created miracles in the history of literature with your personal efforts. The works written for them have a strong romantic flavor, and the words that have washed away the luster are simple but extremely beautiful. With this style, you have left a strong mark in the history of world literature. Their passing has set off huge waves in your heart, and words have been sublimated in life and death. You have never forgotten them, and so have your works. A good novel can make those who read it burst into tears, a good article can make people unable to look away, shake their hearts, and burst into tears. No need to pile up rhetoric, no need to deliberately sensationalize. In the busy and dark life, have you ever been truly saved by a good novel? The words you write can make people truly feel the most unforgettable romance in life. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 105. What a wicked person. Nanhaiangshi looked at the notes he had just obtained on Nangxiangshi's pure and simple romantic writing skills in his later years and specialty writing, romantic, LV4. Then he glanced at the regret guitar placed next to him. Then, he thoughtfully opened his list of specialties and looked at Nangxiang Ili's happy cooking skills. Maybe I was really fooled by the simulator. I had such a curious idea when I was in Nangxiang. If you are alone, you can read the novels he wrote, listen to the songs he played on the guitar of life, and eat the meals he made using Nangxiang Ili's happy cuisine. What would that look like? Nangxiangshi couldn't help but think about it, but he had no idea to implement it for the time being. Because compared to this devilish idea, what he is more curious about now is what it feels like to write something using the pure and simple romantic writing techniques of Nangxiang in his later years. Just give it a try. Nangxiangshi has always been a person who does whatever comes to his mind. Just take the paper and pen out of the bag. You have obtained the special mobility LV1. Nangxiangshi didn't pay attention to the sudden prompt from the system. He just thought about it for a while and casually wrote a line of Wang Jiun copywriting that he had seen in his previous life on the paper. Then he put the pen down. Read with both eyes. He wanted to see how this evil simulator could make him feel romantic this time. He read carefully what he had written on the paper. Watch carefully. But don't seem to feel anything? Nangxiangshi scratched his head. Wang Yun's copywriting is still Wang Yun's copywriting, there is no change at all, and it can't even make any waves in his heart. After all, in his previous life, he had seen copywriting similar to he committed suicide and I am in kindergarten this year. I am very stressed and the pain makes me unable to breathe countless times. He shook his head and couldn't help but glance at the words he wrote. Then, just looking at it, I discovered it when I was in Nangxiang. His eyes gradually couldn't move away. An indescribable feeling of beauty and romance rose from my heart. I thought about a lot when I was in Nangxiang. Throughout his life, he was busy and seemed to be just striving for lofty goals. But is that really good? Tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. He thought of the stray dog adopted by his aunt's friend's second uncle who died this winter. It's like a person's life is so mediocre, just spent eating and sleeping. Is life really supposed to be like this? No. This won't work. I can't be so inactive, my short life should be more romantic. For this I want to confess. Spend your life with her. I can't be a coward. I can do it. Romantic and beautiful life lies far away. Poetry and the sea are also far away. As for the object of confession practice, let's use the stray dog adopted by my aunt's friend's second uncle. Wait a minute. Nangxiangshi shook his head vigorously, putting aside the overwhelming thought of wanting to confess his love and find someone to spend his life with. Then he looked at the words he had written with a look of astonishment and shock on his face. What kind of evil thing is this? Is it even more outrageous than regretting the guitar in life? And what kind of romance is this? I recall that just now my thoughts were all about wanting to confess, fall in love, and the world is so big, I want to go out and see it. Nan Xiang felt that the skill he had acquired should not be called romantic writing skills, but should be called confession courage amplifier. Although I do feel a romantic and aesthetic feeling from it. Nangxiang flicked the white paper on the table that he had regarded as a nuclear bomb. Yes. After using this skill, in addition to the various thoughts surging in my heart, there is also a pure and heartfelt feeling that the beauty of words is so romantic. Nangxiang felt that he had been studying hard and living up to everyone's expectations from Akita Prefecture to come to Tokyo to study. This was also a kind of hard romance. He also thought about the previous simulations with Goto Ichiri, Yamada Ryo, and others. A smile, a look. Meet them, fall in love with them, and never leave. It turns out that the beauty of life is actually around you. And it's probably because of his specialty in LV4 writing, romantic. When I was in Nangxiang, I found that the words I wrote had a lot more charm than the rigid printed handwriting I used to do. Generally speaking, it's not too useless. When Nangxiang lay down on the bed again, he was quite satisfied with what he had gained this time. As for the rest, then he didn't think about it that much. All he wanted now was to lie down and sleep. Because after the Saturday and Sunday vacation is over, Oka High School will have a monthly quiz. After this quiz, it was the Oka High School School Festival, a celebration called the Oka Festival. Although Nangxiang felt that the top spot in the grade would eventually fall into his hands, in order to show some respect to his fellow Oka High School students, he still chose to recharge his batteries. As for the Oka Festival later, that has nothing to do with him. The students in the class can do whatever they want. I wonder what activities Goto Ichiri and his class are planning to hold. And after this happy ending, will Chisuke Nishiki and Takina Inu have fragments of happy memories appear in their minds just like Ichiri Goto? Nangxiangshi was thinking about it while falling into sleep. Chapter 106. Are you and I matched? 4,000 words. How could I just die like that? Nishiki Kishu, who woke up from her sleep early in the morning, looked at the empty room and couldn't let go for a long time. Yes. In the memory that suddenly popped up in my mind, how could she have died so early? It should be her turn after she has endured Inu Takina to death, and then Nango. Why did I die so early? Recalling the dream, after he passed away, Inu Takina also passed away immediately. After the old age, Nango Toki was waiting alone in the empty room, sitting quietly on the bench where she and Inu Takina had sat together. Nishiki Kishu unconsciously placed her palms on her heart. There, depressed thoughts piled up together. She opened the curtains and looked at the white sky. In his memory, what kind of mood did he have when looking at that empty room? Nishiki Kishu took a deep breath. Although she knew that the memory that suddenly popped into her mind was unfounded. But those memories are all too real. It was as if she had really accompanied the young man through spring and summer, and seen autumn and winter. This made her eager to call Nang Xiangxi and ask the other party what they thought. However, in the end the idea was not implemented. Because compared to this idea, let's go out for a run. Nishiki Kishu stretched hard and murmured to himself. She didn't want to die as early as she remembered, leaving only Nang Xiangxi alone. So even if you don't have any interest in getting up early for a run. But she decided to take good care of her health from now on. Outdoor sportswear, oh, here they are. Pulling out a barely worn outdoor sportswear from the closet, Nishiki Kishu touched her smooth chin, then subconsciously looked at the door of her room. She was a little hesitant whether she should ask Inu Takina to go out to exercise together. You know, judging from the memories that pop into your head. Inu Takina actually didn't last long. 2 years after her death, Inu Takina followed her. If you want to exercise and stay healthy, wouldn't it be better to call the other party? She was confused and thinking. After thinking for about a minute, she shook her head. As expected, forget it. Yes, forget it. To put it bluntly, it was just that there were suddenly some almost delusional memories in my mind. No matter how quirky her character is, she can't say things like, oh, we will marry Shijun together in the future. For the sake of future happiness, let's start running and exercising now. Moreover, Inu Takina had a hard time checking the accounts of Rico yesterday. You're probably still sleeping now, right? In addition, Takina doesn't have the habit of getting up early to run. Sure enough, she still had to rest for a while. Think of this. Nishiki Chisuk made up her mind not to worry about Inu Takina anymore. She put on her red outdoor sportswear and pushed out the door. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 106. Then. Why? Why? Two surprised sounds. The former was the slightly calm voice of surprise from Inu Takina, and the latter was the somewhat astonished voice of Nishiki Kishu. Because they both saw each other, the outdoor sportswear the other was wearing. The two of them opened their mouths, and at this moment, they fell into silence as if they had a tacit understanding. But even though she fell into silence, Nishiki Kishu couldn't help but stir up a storm in her heart. What's the situation? She looked at Inu Takina, who had tied a single ponytail in front of her and pushed the door open with the same tiptoe, and her mind was full of questions. She is very clear about her best friend and family member Inu Takina. The other party has no habit of running in the morning at all. Because Takina is usually busy working late, she usually wakes up more than 10 minutes later than her. But today, Inu Takina put on her sportswear early, as if she was going out for exercise. For some reason, a bold idea suddenly emerged from Nishiki Kishu's heart. Although it seems unlikely. But could it be that Takina, like her, suddenly had memories that seemed to have been experienced by herself in her mind? She raised her head and secretly looked at Inu Takina in front of her, feeling a little unsure for a moment. Mainly, is such a thing really possible in the world? There is a connection between people, and suddenly they have the same dream, and the same memory appears in their mind. From a practical point of view, this is absolutely impossible, right? And it's still kind of the memory of two people marrying one person. So she could only speak cautiously and tentatively, Takina, that's really strange. Do you want to go out for some exercise? Well. Inu Takina, who was questioned by her best friend and family member, was now feeling panicked. Suddenly waking up from her sleep, she was very concerned about the extra memories in her mind and unconsciously put on outdoor sportswear and prepared to go out for a run. But what she didn't expect was that she would bump into Nishiki Kishu head-on. She could only nod, yes, I suddenly want to go out for a morning jog. Then she glanced at the red outdoor sportswear the other party was wearing, Qianshu too. As soon as she said the sentence, she could clearly feel that Nishiki Kishu, who had always been cheerful and lively, seemed a little uncomfortable. She even turned her eyes to the side and her tone was extremely perfunctory. Ahaha, almost, right. This extremely suspicious reaction made Inu Takina unable to help but feel concerned. After all, she was very aware of Nishiki Kishu in front of her. The other party has always had the habit of staying up late and watching movies. Getting up early is simply impossible for Nishiki Kishu. So why did the other party suddenly make such an abnormal move? Inu Takina doesn't quite understand. But she also thought of going together with Nishiki Kishu. Could it be that Jianzhu was like her, and suddenly had more memories in her mind? Recall the memory in your mind. She had always been serious and cold towards others, but she couldn't help but have a cute blush on her face. There is no way. The two got married, and the husband was still alone. This kind of thing is very unspeakable. Moreover, she actually got up early to exercise just for this kind of memory that looked like a fantasy at first sight. She even wondered if there was something wrong with her brain. Only, the memory was so real that she didn't even feel it was false at all. To this day, she still can't forget that feeling. Inu Takina thought and subconsciously put her palms on her chest. Just when she was about to say something to think about, Nishiki Kishu, who was opposite the door, had already taken the lead in making a suggestion. How about, let's go together? Good. There was no excuse to refuse, and Inu Takina was also a little curious about Nishiki Kishu's condition, so she nodded in agreement. The two went out together. In Tokyo in the early morning, the hustle and bustle of the day faded away, leaving a short period of quietness. The two of them jogged at their own pace, one behind the other. In the early morning, two beautiful girls with blonde hair and black hair became a rare sight on this street. If some media people in Tokyo see it, they might come up and take the initiative to interview him. It's just, for Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina. The current atmosphere is really awkward. Both of them were concerned about each other's status and wanted to speak several times, but in the end they kept their mouths shut. Finally, in this atmosphere, Nishiki Kishu was the first to be unable to bear it and stopped directly. Thousands of bunches. Seeing Nishiki Kishu stop, Inu Takina felt a little strange, but she also stopped slowly. Oh, I really can't bear it anymore. Nishiki Kishu, who has always been an activist and positive and optimistic, can't stand the awkward atmosphere now and doesn't know how to speak. So, she simply turned around, looked at Inu Takina, and said her thoughts directly. Oh. I'm telling the truth. Takina, do you have more memories in your head? Memory. This straightforward question made Inu Takina Sakura's pink lips move. Good. Nishikiki put her hands on her hips and showed a vigorous smile with a hum. She didn't care about other people's opinions and said directly, that's it. Takina and I are the same people. Same person. This wording was so explicit that the face of Inu Takina, who treats others seriously and carefully, suddenly turned bright red. She panicked, and first glanced around to make sure there were no passers-by around. She breathed a sigh of relief, then hurriedly came to Jinmyukinshi's side, and lowered her extremely shy voice. Kinzu. Wait a minute. What nonsense are you talking about? What kind of people in the same stick? When she came to the next part, her voice was obviously trembling with shyness. What's this? Anyway, the topic has been discussed, and Nishiki Kishu is no longer embarrassed as before. She poked Inu Takina's chest and said in a teasing tone. Oh, in my memory, Inu-san was unexpectedly proactive. He was actually willing to do this and that for Toki-kun. What is this kind of thing called? Yamato Nades Hiko, whom men love most, ugh. Before the blonde girl could finish her words, Inu Takina, whose fair face was already red, covered her mouth forcefully. To actually talk about this kind of topic in this kind of place. Although she had long been accustomed to the big nerves of her best friend, even Inu Takina still glared at her fiercely. Ahaha, there's nothing to be ashamed of. With 8 points of movement value, he easily broke free from Inu Takina's hand. Nishiki Kishu put his palm to his mouth and smiled mischievously. Me too. Even though I haven't experienced that kind of thing yet, it's just an extra memory that suddenly appeared in my brain. Extra memories. Because she was too embarrassed, Inu Takina wanted to pretend to be stupid. Yes, for example, Takina, you are obviously covered in sweat, but you still hold the memory that Toki-kun said you still want on the bed with a serious look on your face, ugh. Her mouth was covered again, and at the same time, she felt the angry gaze of Inu Takina. I admit it. So don't talk about this topic again in a place like this. Inu Takina released her palms and lowered her voice, but raised her pitch. And her words also made Nishiki Kishu excited. Sure enough, Takina, you also have those memories. There is really nothing that Inu Takina can do about Nishiki Chisuke's liveliness and cuteness. In other words, do you also have those shy memories? Nishiki Kishu asked another question. Inu Takina didn't want to answer this question, and used her palms to pull up the collar of her outdoor sportswear to cover her red face. Isn't that right? Nishiki Kishu broke the casserole and asked what happened. So what? Inu Takina rubbed her aching temples and answered the question that made her blush. If she could, she really had the urge to strangle Jianshu to death right now. Hey, what are you sorry about? Maybe he also realized that his topic was indeed a bit too high for a 17-year-old girl. Nishiki Kishu coughed lightly. I also have that kind of memory, that, for example, with Toki-kun. Stop talking. Inu Takina stopped immediately and looked at Nishiki Kishu with incomprehensible eyes. She really didn't know how to continue this topic. Oh, I'm also a teenage girl, so it's normal to be interested in that kind of thing. Nishiki Kishu shrugged, looking very open. As for her overly open mind, Inu Takina, who is more traditional at heart, issued her own rebuttal. Adolescent girls don't always tell dirty jokes. Hey, then let's not talk about this. Takina should also have the memory of us marrying Toki-kun, right? Nishiki Kishu simply jumped to the next step. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 107. Have. Is it? Nishiki Kishu tilted her head. Do you think this phenomenon is normal? The two of us have extra memories of each other. It's normal or something. There may be some talk of telepathy in the scientific community. Inu Takina looked at the scene on the street and answered casually. But isn't that what twin brothers are like? Nishiki Kishu blinked curiously, her bright red eyes looking aggressively at her closest best friend in the world. As if being stabbed by her aggressive gaze, Inu Takina subconsciously looked away and spoke softly. So Jianshu, what exactly do you want to say? Yes. It's telepathy, it's twin brothers, it's memory. These topics are so exciting. For a while, Inu Takina couldn't keep up with her brain. But soon, the other person's next words made Inu Takina raise her head in surprise. I'm thinking about something. Nishiki Kishu put her hands behind her back, leaned forward with a smile, looked at Inu Takina cutely, and expressed her thoughts. I'm thinking. Shijun, will you be like us and have these extra memories in your mind? She said with a smile. He expressed the infinite expectations and joy in his heart. Yes. The person she loves the most. Will it be the same as her? Chapter 107. The turn of the pink-haired female passerby. It's over. I notice the memories of a lively and optimistic girl with blonde hair and a cold and serious girl with black hair in my mind. Goto Izato held his head with both hands, only half of his gloomy white face was exposed, and he fell into a daze. Although she couldn't clearly see what happened in her memory. But she could clearly feel that there was definitely an inseparable connection between these two people and Nang Xiangxi. Because of this sudden extra memory, she had experienced it before. Also, that is to say, those two people are my love rivals. Goto Kazuri really didn't want to say the word love rival, because her own combat power was only 5 points, and she probably wasn't even considered an enemy in the eyes of others. But at this time, I have to say it. What to do? What to do? What to do? Watching Ashi and other women do this and that kind of thing. Just the thought that something like that could happen. The facial expression on Goto Ichiri's face became a little broken uncontrollably. But, it's really scary to compete with other girls, I don't want to do that. Recalling the cheerful and lively aura of the blonde girl. Think again of the black-haired girl's temperament, as cold as a flower on a high mountain. Goto looked at himself again, he felt sincerely that he was weak and powerless. She really wanted to give up, really wanted to give up. I have said this countless times in my heart. But when I think of Nang Xiangxi, who encourages me all the time, whether in memory or in reality, the heart that has always been weak and inferior will actually become firm. She didn't want to give up Nang Xiang. I really don't want to. Even if she had to do something like competing with others that she was not good at or even unable to do, she would never give up on Nang Xiangxi. So. Come on, I can dash. Goto-san. Huh? Ah, oh. Goto Ichiri, who was suddenly called out, was stunned for a while before reacting suddenly. His eyes seemed to wake up from a dazed state, and he looked at Kida Ikuyo who poked his head over in front of him. At this time, the other party was staring at him excitedly with his bright and sunny green eyes. Just the upward hook at the corner of his mouth was enough to make people like him and give him a sunny smile, which made Goto Ichiri feel like he would completely melt under the other person's sunny aura. Is something the matter? Kida-chan. He secretly turned his gaze away, not daring to look at Kida Ikuyo in front of him. Goto Kazuri, who had just made up his mind just now, was already hunched over and asking in a low voice. Goto-san is really... Listening to Ichiri Goto's words, Ikuyo Kida reluctantly stretched out his white fingers and poked Ichiri Goto's face affectionately. Although he plays the guitar so well, why does Goto-san have such an inexplicable social fear and low self-esteem? Never mind. Only I know Goto-san's secret, it's like a secret between two people, and it feels good. Kida Ikuyo thought, and then faced the gloomy Goto Izato with half of his face exposed, and showed a friendly and talkative smile. That's it? As I said just now, Goto-san thinks that Nango-senpai will still be ranked first in this small test. Yes. Oka High School's monthly school quiz ended yesterday. Therefore, in addition to discussing the class activities of the Oka High School School Festival, today's class meeting also included the results of the school's quizzes. Adhering to the concept of respecting all students, Oka High School will only publish the results of the top 3 students in the grade. The remaining student scores will be notified by the class teacher personally issuing a transcript. No, Nang Xiang Sr. The name is too close. After changing his mind, Ichiri Goto hesitated for a while. I think Nango-senpai should still be number 1 in the whole grade. Hey? Are Goto-sen so confident in Nango-senpai? Kida Ikuyo held up his face, smiled, and looked at Goto Kazuri as if he was very interested. This, that. Goto Ichiri stammered, at a loss, not knowing how to answer this topic. How should I put it, it's nice to be Nangxiang Senior's number one all the time, but I feel, sometimes someone needs to surpass him, right? Kita Ikuyo touched his chin, thought for a while and said, after all, Nangxiang Senpai may also need competitors or something like that. She thought for a long time, but couldn't find a suitable description to express her thoughts, so she smiled and gestured. That is to say, there is always no sense of oppression or competition. One person can easily win the first place by relying on his genius, it's boring, or something like that. That's not the case. Kita-chan. Why? Looking at Goto Kazuri, who suddenly stood up and spoke in a particularly loud voice, Kita Ikuyo opened his mouth, a little surprised. This was the first time she had seen Goto Kazuri talking so loudly. You must know that even if Goto Kazuri gets involved in their conversations, his voice is always very small, so weak that it is difficult to hear. Occasionally when I meet her on the street and say hello, I feel like she is a frightened hamster, showing a scared expression. She spoke so loudly, with such determination in her voice, even Ikuyo Kita, who had been with her for 2 or 3 months and was learning guitar from her, was seeing her for the first time. But fortunately, Goto Ichiri seemed to be aware of the surprised atmosphere around him after he opened his mouth. Her gloomy fair face instantly turned from white to seductively red in front of everyone's eyes. Then he clicked and sat down again, but still continued to emphasize weakly and quietly. Senior Nangxiang, that person, didn't have it easy. He not only won the first place in the grade with his talent, but there should be hard work behind it that ordinary people can't persist at all. Yes. Goto Kazuri knew it. Hidden under Nangxiang's learning ability, there is also hard work and sweat that ordinary people cannot persist. She knew it in her memory. When I was in Nangxiang, I actually had the habit of studying every night. Similarly, the other party is also doing the preview and review things that ordinary people are doing, and their plans and preparations are more complete and they work harder than others. He actually works hard and never slacks off. That's why Ichiri Goto stood up and refuted when he heard what Ikuyo Kita said just now. Because she always felt that those words seemed to negate Nangxiang's usual efforts as a matter of course. Ah, so that's what happened. As a sunny character with many friends, Ikuyo Kita's emotional intelligence is naturally not low, and she immediately understood what Ichiri Goto wanted to express. Indeed, what I just said was indeed a bit inappropriate. Kita Ikuyo clasped his hands together and said apologetically, I'm sorry, Goto-san, it's wrong to make rash assumptions about others when you only see their bright side. Ah, no. Seeing that Kita Ikuyo actually apologized to himself solemnly. This made Ichiri Goto, who had been speaking loudly just now, a bit at a loss. Seeing Goto Ichiri's expression of not knowing how to reply, Kita Ikuyo smiled gently. She did not continue to embarrass Goto Ichiri. She just coughed and brought the topic back. Goto-san thinks Nango-senpai will be number 1 in the grade, right? Ah, yes. Then let me talk about the candidates I am more optimistic about. Ikuyo Kita took out his phone and swiped the screen to show a photo to Ichiri Goto. Chiang. Shinjo-senpai, who was second in grade last time. Although there was a big gap with Nango-senpai last time, maybe we can close the gap this time. Shinjo-senpai. Except for Nango Toki, Goto Kazuri basically didn't pay attention to the results of his second year of high school. She poked her head over and took a look. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 108. Shinjo Akane. I recited the name silently in my mind. Then she shook her head gently, and said in a weak but almost stubborn voice, Shinjo, it's impossible to beat Nango-senpai. Hey? Why did Goto-san say that? Ikuyo Kita didn't quite understand Goto Iri's theoretical basis. I heard that Shinjo-senpai seemed to be particularly well prepared this time. Maybe she can really surpass Nango-senpai. In short, it is impossible to exceed. Goto Ichiri shrank his head, but still lowered his head and whispered stubbornly. Why? Kita Ikuyo tilted his head, confused. Because, he is Nangxiang Sr. It's normal for him to take first place. Goto Kazuri replied in an extremely unreasonable and arrogant tone. Ikuyo Kita. Kita Ikuyo was silent. She narrowed her eyes and stared at Goto Kazuri. It seemed that Goto Ichiri felt a little uncomfortable all over his body. A long time passed. Kita Ikuyo glanced at the crowd around him. After confirming that he had not attracted anyone else, he lowered his voice and spoke in a somewhat unbelievable way. Goto-san, do you like Nango-senpai? Yes. Although she found it incredible. But recalling Goto Ichiri's refutation of his attitude just now. Thinking about her current statement that because I am a Nangxiang Sr., it is normal to get first place is almost entirely based on the subjective consciousness of her own preferences. Kita Ikuyo could only come to the conclusion that the other party liked Nango. On the other side, Goto Ichiri heard himself say this. That gloomy and delicate face suddenly became trembling. She could hardly speak clearly, and her hands were placed in front of her chest randomly as she spoke. I like Senior Nangxiang. Who is it? I don't know that kind of person at all. Ikuyo Kita. Too obvious. It's so obvious, Goto-san. This is simply the standard reaction of someone who is successful. Looking at Goto Ichiri's helpless look. For some reason, Kita Ikuyo felt as if a huge boulder had been lifted off his chest, and he felt a lot more relaxed. How to say? She has actually been paying attention to Goto Kazuri. I also know how hard the other person worked to practice guitar, gain recognition from others, and overcome his social fear. But the other party's efforts always yielded little results. This made her, who had been practicing guitar beside Goto Ichiri, feel heartbroken. In her heart, she had already regarded him as one of her closest friends. I have someone I like. For Kazuri Goto, this must be a big step forward, right? Such great progress has been made for my closest friends. She could only feel relief and peace of mind. So good. Ely sauce. All the hard work has been in vain. Seeing the blush on Goto Izato's gloomy face, Ikuyo Kita thought with a smile. And Ikuyo Kita looked at him with the eyes of the child has grown up. Goto Kazuri also gradually gave up resistance and lowered his hands feebly. So, Goto-san really likes Nango-senpai. If I really want to talk about how Goto Kazuri feels now, then she only has two moods. Very shy, want to die. My crush on someone else was actually discovered by my friend. This is too. Hey, I'm touched when talking about this youthful topic. Kita Ikuyo's eyes immediately ignited as if they could emit light. What do you like about Nango-senpai, Goto-san? Hey. The social expert Ikuyo Kita suddenly jumped onto the topic, leaving Goto unable to keep up for a while. Sure enough, it's still the looks, right? I have to say that Senior Nangxiang is indeed handsome. He has a delicate but very cheerful and clean feeling. Why? Then there's the temperament, right? How should I put it? He's more mature than the average high school boy, and has a steady temperament. I think that's a plus, right? Well. Goto Ichiri tried hard to answer. But faced with the talkative Kita Ikuyo, she was stunned and didn't say a word. Finally, Kita Ikuyo seemed to realize this. She gave the right to speak back to Goto Kazuri. Anyway, Goto-san, what do you like about him? I don't know, I haven't thought about it that much. Recalling Kita Ikuyo's all-round analysis just now, Goto Ichiri lowered his head, blushed, and answered sheepishly. Hey? What does it have to do with it? Tell me. Why do you like Senior Nangxiang? Kita Ikuyo looked at Goto Kazuri with a smile. Well. Goto Ichiri blushed and expressed her inner feelings as if she felt ashamed. There's no particular reason, I just feel happy when I think of him. There is no rhetoric, no lengthy emotional analysis. There are only words that are too simple and too simple. These words were so simple and clean that Ikuyo Kida, who was still excited just now, fell silent again. I didn't notice Nan Xiang's outstanding appearance. Nor did he notice Nang Xiang's rich knowledge and great future. The reason Goto Kazuri likes that person is just because when he thinks of him, he feels very happy. That's all. But that's all it takes. Think of this. Kida Ikuyo smiled. He held up his side face and looked at his friend in front of him, showing an indescribable gentle smile. Maybe love really only needs to be that simple. Chapter 108. Ili, I really want to see you, 4,200 words. When I am unhappy, thinking of you will make me happy. When I am happy, I will be happier when I think of you. Love between people is so simple and pure. But I don't know when, Kida Ikuyo found that he subconsciously ignored this point. Maybe it's because of this materialistic society. Pure feelings are hard to maintain. But, although the feelings are pure, as expected, we still have to take the initiative. Goto-san. This was Kida Ikuyo's unhesitating and decisive voice. Why? This was the sound that Goto Kazuri was afraid of because he didn't understand what Ikuyo Kida was saying. It's about taking the initiative. Kida Ikuyo decided to support Goto Ichiri emotionally. This can't continue like this. Goto-san. Goto Kazuri looked at Kida Ikuyo with a look of what on earth is this person talking about? I mean, Goto-san can't be so submissive anymore. Well. Goto Ichiri felt a deep blow in his heart. Being submissive and being too scared to speak was her biggest problem all along. Is it possible that Goto-san thinks that love will fall on your head like pie in the sky? That's just a pure luck. Well. Kida Ikuyo's words made Goto Ichiri cover his chest and suffered another blow. To put it bluntly, does Goto-san know how popular Nango-senpai is? It seems like I receive love letters from girls of different grades every day. If you keep dilly-dallying like this and not daring to express yourself, you will regret it sooner or later. Goto, who had suffered countless blows, silently let out a pop sound and fell limply on his desk. If I could use a more special adjective to describe Goto Ichiri's current situation, that would be more appropriately called the pool of Goto. Goto-san, now is not the time to lie down. Already determined to support Goto Kazuri's love affair, Kida Ikuyo simply pulled her up with a serious expression. Let's think carefully about our strategy. Not just for Goto-san, but for me as well. Yes. Not just for Goto Kazuri. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 109. Also for Kida Ikude's own selfishness. Because last time, her favorite Yamada Ryo senpai had already kissed Nango Shishi. Although Yamada Ryo may not care, Kida Ikuyo is vaguely interested. If only Ichiri Goto and Nango Toki could be brought together. Then she and Yamada Ryo can get together naturally. Simply perfect. War, strategy. Goto Kazuri, whose brain was in a daze, obviously didn't hear what Ikuyo Kida added later, and looked at her blankly. That's right. If you want Nango-senpai to like Goto-san, you should let him get in touch with you as soon as possible, right? Kida Ikuyo gave his own advice. It is normal for boys and girls to have good feelings about each other after they come into contact with each other. This Oka Academy festival is a good opportunity. She paused, then took out her phone. So, the first step we have to do is to invite Senior Nangxiang out. Goto Kazuri looked at Kida Ikuyo blankly. She was so envious of the other person's ability to speak so many words so eloquently and fluently. But what concerned her more was what he said afterward. Why yo ask Senior Nangxiang? Goto Ichiri's voice suddenly changed, like a goose whose neck was stuck, and his face turned red. Take the initiative to ask people out. This rank is too high for her. It's okay, Goto-san, let me contact you. Kita Ikuyo waved his hand nonchalantly and took out his mobile phone. After all, she had said hello to Nang Xiangxi several times. For her, who is already a social expert, asking someone for their line number is a matter of course. Since Goto Ichiri is too embarrassed to speak, let her do it. Open line. When looking at Nango with a panda head hanging on it, Kita Ikuyo naturally extended an invitation under the gaze of Goto Kazuri. Alas! Be the sunniest person, Nango-senpai, do you have time for this Oka Academy festival? If you have time, please come to our class to experience our activities. The attached picture is the Q version of the girl's shy expression. Okay, so awesome. Looking at Ikuyo Kita, who could type a long string of characters with just one hand, Goto Izato next to him widened his eyes. And the most important thing is that this invitation is so natural. If she were to take the initiative to contact Nang Xiang, it would probably be greetings after a long absence, how are you doing these days? I wonder if I could trouble you to come to my class. This format? She felt a little surprised, and at the same time, her little face moved closer, wanting to see what Nang Xiang would say to Kita Ikuyo. The two little girls just sat and waited. Then, why haven't you replied yet? Kita Ikuyo scratched his hair in confusion. It had been 15 minutes since her message had been sent. But Nang Xiangxi didn't even reply, he didn't even read the message she sent. Even now, her previous message is still in unread status. She couldn't help but opened her mouth and asked with a strange look on her face, Goto-san, doesn't Nango-senpai usually carry a mobile phone? Should be brought. Goto Ichisato responded softly. According to the memories in his mind, Nang Xiangxi was actually not much different from ordinary young people. In addition to self-disciplined study, I also watch interesting videos on the internet. As a common item, mobile phones are naturally carried. Well, this is a bit difficult. When Kita Ikuyo looked at Nang Xiang, who had not replied on the other end of the phone, he couldn't help but tilted his head and gave the next step. How about the two of us go directly to Nang Xiang's senior class to invite him? Why? Not on the internet, but in reality. As a social fear, Goto's eyes widened for a moment, and his voice became hesitant. I think maybe we can try again. Try again, even if I can try again, but Nang Xiang Sr. has no intention of replying at all. Kita Ikuyo pointed to his mobile phone, and then looked at Goto Kazuri. How about, Goto-san, please contact him. Although she said so, she actually didn't have any hope for it. After all, Nang Xiangxi might have set his cell phone to silent at the moment, or he might be busy with other things and couldn't spare his time to look at his cell phone. Otherwise, why wouldn't she reply? You can't just contact the other party with Goto and have the other party respond directly, right? Kita Ikuyo had no hope, but still let Goto Ichiri try. Compared with her, Goto Kazuri's expression on the line account is much more subtle. She carefully took out her mobile phone that she had been using for a long time, and then clicked on the panda profile picture from Nang Xiang. With trembling fingers, I entered two characters that were too simple. Probably dead, are you there? There are no expressions, and the content is extremely simple. No. It's really not possible at all, Goto-san. Ikuyo Kita couldn't help but shake his head after seeing this. He held Goto back and taught him his skills seriously. No, Goto-san, when chatting online, you have to show the cute side of girls. Huh? Is that so? Goto Kazuri, who had never chatted with others online for too long, was stunned after hearing this. Goto-san, your words are too uninteresting. The tone of "are you there" sounds very unlovable, right? And your line name, Goto-san, is too unlovable. I think we should change it. Kita analyzed on behalf of Goto Kazuri. If I were a boy, I would definitely not be willing to reply to a girl who talks like this, let alone someone like Nango Sr. Before she finished speaking, she heard a ding-dong sound. Tokyo's most beautiful boy, hey, what's the matter? Why? Kita Ikuyo was stunned, looking at the dialogue box that popped up on Goto Ichiri's phone screen, his face full of astonishment. Read in seconds. Reply in seconds. No. She looked at Goto Iri's phone screen and couldn't help but take out her phone. The chat box on his cell phone with Nan Xiang was still empty and lonely. I took a look at the message that was still in the unread status. Feeling the different treatment from Goto Ichiri, who was naked, she showed an incomprehensible expression on her pretty and sunny face. I do not know how to describe. Although she doesn't have the same romantic feelings towards Nangxiang, as a social expert, she is treated so differently by boys because of her cute appearance. Kita Ikuyo still has some mixed feelings. But it's a good thing since you replied. Pulling himself together again, Ikuyo Kita stood by to give advice. Since you have replied, don't hesitate. Let's invite Senior Nangxiang now. Do you still want to invite me? Goto Ichiri opened his mouth, a little confused and at a loss. You know, just taking the initiative to talk to boys online is already a terrifying improvement for her. And on top of that, you have to invite the other person to go to the school festival together. Just thinking about that scene, Goto Kazuri felt a dizzy feeling in his brain. Don't be afraid, Goto-san, come on. Next to her, Ikuyo Kita cheered her on. Woo! He was crying, his face full of grievances, as if a knife was held to his neck, but Ichiri Goto still worked hard and typed characters on his mobile phone with difficulty. Probably dead, do you have time recently? The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, yes. The response is still seconds. This speed made Kita Ikuyo look at his phone again. After confirming that there was no news about Nangxiang, she finally gave up. Probably dead. If you are free, can you come to our class? Our class has also held activities, can you come and take a look? Snap. The fingers stopped. Click send. Goto Ichisato let out a heavy breath. Just complete this step. It seemed that all her energy had been spent. Next. Just look at Nan Xiang's reaction. Ikuyo Kita and Ichiri Goto were looking at their phones. At this time, they were both a little nervous. Not the same as the previous news. This time Nangxiang did not reply immediately. But after Goto Ichiri's line message changed to red status, there was silence for about a minute. Then. Ding dong. There was news from Nangxiang. Kita Ikuyo and Goto Ichisato looked over. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, Kita-san is by your side, was it her idea, invite me to the school festival? Well. Kita Ikuyo and Goto Ichiki looked at each other, and for a moment they didn't know what to say. Because Nangxiang's guess was too accurate. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 110. It made Kita Ikuyo feel like he was being seen through by the other person from the inside out. What should we do next? Kita-chan. Looking at Nangxiang's reply, Goto Ichiri opened his mouth, not knowing how to continue the topic. Mainly because Nangxiang saw through her at a glance, which made her not dare to act rashly. But this time I haven't waited for Goto Kazuri to reply. There was another message from Nangxiang on the other side. Tokyo's most beautiful boy, stop thinking so wildly, you don't seem like the kind of girl who would take the initiative to invite me to a school festival, that's all. Tokyo's most beautiful boy, as for the day of the school festival, After helping my class, I should be able to spare some time, then I can go shopping with you. By the way, do you want to come with the band after it's over? The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, I remember there was an event in the gymnasium on the day of the school festival. As long as the registration is over, the band can also participate. Do you want to perform on stage? 1 mile? Good. A string of replies. A long list of replies. Let Kita Akude be overwhelmed. She never thought that Nang Xiang, who was always smiling and indifferent to others, would actually say so much for go to Ichiri. But among these words, there was another one that concerned her the most. That is, the music event in the gymnasium during the school festival. Kita Ikuyo tilted his head. She has actually heard this before. As long as the form is submitted to the student union, students can perform in the gymnasium on the day of the school festival. To be honest, she is indeed very interested in this kind of activity. So Ikuyo Kita took the initiative and said, "We are performing in the stadium, what do you think?" Goto-san. Why? Goto Ichiri was still reading Nango's reply. Hearing Kita Ikuyo's words, he couldn't help but shrink his head. School festival performance. Praising youth. Akira study hard? That kind of stage. Goto Ichiri lowered his head and winced. I don't think I can do it. She was only halfway through her words. Then. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, to be honest, I really want to see you shine on the stadium stage, Ely. Snap. Kita Ikuyo just watched as Goto Kazuri's cell phone slipped from her fingers. Then. Her palm was grabbed by Goto Iri, who had a serious expression and his face seemed to be shining. Let's start practicing for the school festival performance today. Kita-chan. Huh? But, Goto-san, there are still 2 weeks to prepare for the school festival, isn't it a bit early to practice today? No problem. We'll start when we get to the stars. No. Let's start practicing now. Just Kita-chan and me. Goto Ichiri was drooling as he spoke, smiling hee. Hey hey. Hey hey. I want to see me shine. When? Hey hey. Chapter 109. Miss Yamada like a child, 4,200 words. Oka High School's monthly quiz is always a time when you can see all kinds of things in the world. The top achievers were confident and elegant. They took the report card from the teacher and showed their confidence. Those with average grades are frightened. When they take the report card from the teacher, their expressions are trembling. After seeing the results, they would show expressions of it's over now or finally no more re-examination and expressions of joy. For students whose grades are very poor, they are doomed to fail the moment they get their transcripts, and re-examination is a foregone conclusion, and they are equally confident. It's just different from the self-confidence of top performers. Although they are confident in their hearts, their self-confidence reveals that they are not surprised at how bad their results are. This kind of preparation is like a death row prisoner walking to the execution ground, with an inexplicable tragic beauty. Compared with these 3 types of people, Nang Xiangshi's level is undoubtedly much higher in the eyes of his classmates. It was obviously the day when the results were announced, but he didn't care. He even took out his silent mobile phone to reply to the line message in front of the teacher. It's just that Nango Toki has been ranked first in his grade for nearly half a semester and is called the Demon King of Learning by countless Oka High School students. The privilege of taking out a mobile phone and sending a line message is still enough. The teacher on the podium turned a blind eye to this is the best proof. I don't know what the results will be in Nangxiang this time. Everyone in the class looked over curiously. It's just that the student number in Nangxiang is far behind. After waiting like this for about 3 minutes, the teacher on the stage finally read out Nangxiangshi's name. Nangxiang time. Have. With a simple reply, Nangxiangshi put his cell phone back into the pocket of his navy uniform without any change in his face as all his classmates watched. Then he stood up and took the report card slip from the teacher's hand. Then, under everyone's gaze, Nang Xiangxi didn't even glance at the results on the report card and directly put the report card into his arms. Then he walked back to his seat, took out his mobile phone, and continued to reply to line messages. No. He continued to reply to line messages while looking at Nang Xiang, without any expression on his face. What exactly is in your line? Who are you talking to? Can I take a look at your results? They really can't understand it? Obviously for Nang Xiangxi, who has always ranked first in grade, this is a big day to announce results. But this person didn't care at all. When he looked at Nang Xiang, he had no intention of taking out his report card and taking a look at it. Many people just feel itchy all over their body, as if there are ants crawling on them. They really wanted to know Nang Xiangxi's results, and also wanted to see Nang Xiangxi's reaction. But now, what to do? I'm a little curious. What was the result in Nang Xiang? Everyone suppressed their curiosity and looked over at Nang Xiangxi from time to time. It doesn't even matter whether they took the exam again or not. But they were disappointed. Even if the teacher has already distributed the entire report card. Nang Xiangxi still didn't mean to take a look at his results. After he replied to the line message, he sat on the table, took out a novel he had just bought, and started reading page by page. This man really has confidence in himself. Are you so sure that you can win the first place in the grade this time? Several classmates sitting next to Nang Xiangxi noticed the curious glances around him and couldn't help but whisper. Do you think the great demon king of Nang Xiang can successfully win the first place in the grade this time? Can he maintain his undefeated myth? A tall boy spoke in a low voice. That, I can't say for sure. But in my opinion, there is absolutely no problem with the Demon King's ability to win the first place in the grade. The boy with slightly longer hair next to him lowered his voice and continued. I sat next to him and watched him finish answering the test paper in 10 minutes. After checking it once, he fell asleep on the table. Anyway, it was very fast. Each subject did not take more than 10 minutes. What the hell? It took me a lot of time and effort just to fill up the answer sheet. Hearing this, someone next to him exclaimed. Oh, compared to this, Shinjo Akane in class 3 is also pretty good, right? She has a smart head, big breasts, and good looks. If I want to support her, I will definitely support Shinjo Akane. That's true. They were talking among themselves. Until then, someone shouted outside the corridor, the results of the top 3 in grade are out. As soon as the sentence came out, many students stood up straight and went directly to the bulletin board in the center of the second floor. After all, it was the extremely arrogant Demon King Nang Xiangxi who continued to defend his position as number 1 in his grade. Or is it being overtaken by a rising star? Everyone is more curious. They huddled together, and then looked up. Then, looking at that lofty name, everyone fell silent. When I was first in grade in Nang Xiang. Akane Shinjo, second in grade. Ito Koshi, the third grader. Akane Shinjo, who is second in grade, has terrible grades. There are 5 subjects: Chinese, mathematics, science, social studies, and English. She had perfect scores in 3 subjects, and only lost 1 or 2, 3 or 4 points in the remaining 2 subjects. The third grader, Koshi Ito, was in a similar situation, with perfect scores in 2 subjects and poor marks in the remaining 3 subjects. In terms of such results, it can be said to be very terrifying. If it were a former high school sophomore. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 111. Either Shinjo Akane is the first in grade, or Ito Koshi is the first in grade. But, with a monster like Nang Xiang here, it's impossible to get first place, right? When looking at Nang Xiang, who was ranked first in grade, some people couldn't help but whisper. No way. It's just because Nang Xiangshi's results this time are too scary. All I saw was the printed transcript. After Nang Xiangshi's name are his achievements. When I was in Nangxiang, the first grade in my grade, I got full marks in Mandarin, mathematics, science, social studies, and English. What's even more outrageous is that get full marks when in Nangxiang. This does not mean that his ability is only perfect. He got a perfect score because the total score of the test paper was only a perfect score. Akane Shinjo and Koshiko Ito got perfect scores because they could only get perfect scores. There seems to be no gap between the two. But in fact it can be said to be very large. To be honest, Nang Xiangshi didn't care about the thoughts of outside students. As he blended into the crowd, he just glanced at his results and came to the idea, oh, he's number one again. Then I didn't think much about it. After all, this result seems natural to him. Not to mention the help of a love simulator. Even without the assistance of the love simulator, it was natural for him to take first place. It's natural to have no fluctuations in your heart. Oh, that's not right either. Nang Xiangshi thought for a while. At any rate, I accepted Oka High School's tuition exemption. If you can't even get first place in your grade, wouldn't you be sorry for the other party's treatment of you? If you think about it, you should really celebrate. Let's add an extra egg to dinner tonight to supplement protein. But is your name Shinjo Akane? Touching his chin, Nang Xiang thought of the second grade name he saw on the list just now. How to say? I never paid much attention to it before. But since getting the love simulator, I have experienced various things. Now when he looked at the name again, he felt familiar. I always feel like I've seen it somewhere, but I can't remember it. This feeling is very annoying, as if you remember what you were going to do 1 second, but forget what you were going to do the next second. Forget it, if you don't think clearly, don't think about it. Nang Xiangshi is not a person who has to think about these miscellaneous things. Instead of thinking about this, it's better to think about what to do next. Putting aside distracting thoughts, Nang Xiang fell into thinking. First of all, we must still go to the Stars Performance Hall every day. After all, his guitar skills still need practice. Then there is the matter over at the Lico Rico Cafe. Through simulation, Nang Xiangshi had already understood that the main purpose of establishing the Like Cafe was to provide financial assistance to the orphanage. If the orphanage situation can be completely resolved, then Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina can also pull themselves out of the mud pit of Rico Rico and look at the world again, just like in the simulation. This matter is obviously more important than going to the Stars Exhibition Hall. It would be safer to put it first. As for the solution, when Nang Xiang thought of this, he had a headache. Because he thought of that woman. A woman with short blue hair, quiet and lazy, but extremely stingy when it comes to money. How to do it? Nang Xiangshi couldn't help but think. In the simulation, he could say Ms. Yamada, help me, without any psychological burden at all. But in reality, Nang Xiangshi touched his chin, feeling entangled. In addition to asking for help from Miss Yamada, there are naturally other ways to implement it. The first way is to sacrifice his color and go to the Tokyo Red Cross Society to get acquainted with the old woman president, as the simulator prompts. But this option is naturally impossible. Sacrifice your appearance and betray yourself? Isn't this pure nonsense? So the second option. If Ichi Hoshige can open a performance hall in Shimokitazawa, she must have some assets, and she can be considered a rich woman. But it's not realistic either. Nang Xiang let out a breath. Yes. It's unrealistic no matter how you think about it. There's no way he could really cheat Udiji Hongxia's sister out of conscience, right? As for other 0-0 methods, it's not like I didn't think of it when I was in Nangxiang. But no matter what he thought, the assistance from the Red Cross was still not enough. So what is before us, in the final analysis, from the beginning to the end, is there only one way? Nang Xiang took out his cell phone and glanced sideways at MS Yamada's profile picture online. MS Yamada's avatar is very simple. It's a Q version of an avatar similar to the image of a earth puppet. It looks like what is this guy thinking and doesn't look like an avatar that a girl would use. Forget it. When Nang Xiang thought about the situation of Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina, he typed out the text without hesitation. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, MS Yamada, do you have time recently? I have something I want to talk to you about. The message goes out. When I arrived in Nangxiang, I put down my cell phone. After all, Yamada Ryo usually has things to do, so he shouldn't reply to messages too quickly. Then, bo. Almost instantly, line's red system prompt sounded. The so-called red is actually an interesting design of line. This means that the other party has seen the message you sent. And this gave Nangxiang the illusion that Ryo Yamada seemed to be standing by her phone all the time today, waiting for him to send her a message. That shouldn't be the case, right? Nangxiang she raised his eyebrows. After all, Ryo Yamada is a young lady, and guarding someone's news. He picked up the phone again. I saw that there were already more replies in the chat box. The aloof bassist weirdo, Ryo. Cold. Nan Xiangxi looked at this reply, shook his head, and continued typing. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, it would be better if you were there, MS Yamada. If I have time recently, I would like to ask you out to discuss something. The message was sent again. It still changed to the read status in an instant. It seems that Ryo Yamada hasn't put down his phone yet. Thinking of this, Nangxiang breathed out a breath and waited for the other party's reply. But this time, different from the previous red reply. Nangxiang stayed in front of the phone for almost 3 minutes. There was still no news from Ryo Yamada. This is a message that has been read but not replied to. Nangxiang she couldn't help but glance at Miss Yamada's profile picture. He watched for a while. After confirming that the other party really has no intention of sending a message, Nangxiang she sighed speechlessly. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, Ryo. This time, the news about Nangxiang she had just been sent out. Ryo Yamada over there replied immediately. The speed is so fast that they are completely different from each other.